No.
Uh-oh,
Hi,
now
good
you're
evening.
live.
Good evening. My name is Julie Reyes, Chairperson of Community Board 8. Welcome to the Executive Committee. For the non-executive committee members who were not invited this evening, you're not permitted to participate during discussions at the Executive Committee meeting, nor is the public. If you want to participate fully, we invite you to attend various committee meetings. And as for the members, I ask the way to be called upon to speak. The ADA approvals for this evening are Sylvia, you're here, so you don't count. Ellen Gibbs, Chuck Merla, Marty Walcott. And that's it. And we have invited guests, which will go on into later on this evening. I'd like to welcome Diana Duncan. She will be presenting on Civic Engagement Commission, the parliamentary procedures. And Sarah, someone else was with her? You were talking to someone else?
Benjamin Solitaire from CEC.
Okay, great. Welcome to both of you. We will turn the floor over to you.
Great, thank you. I'll just say a quick intro. Thank you, this is Benjamin Solitaire, Senior Advisor at the Civic Engagement Commission. A few months ago, we've given various trainings that are usually open to all community board members on Zoom, but a few months ago we decided we wanted to try to offer specific ones to what your boards wanted. We can't offer to every board, but we offered 5 trainings to 5 boards who wanted them, and you guys spoke up, and so here we are tonight with Diana talking about mastering effective meetings, as it says. So thank you for having us. We're glad we could make this happen, and we're also glad to have used your district office, that room, I believe, for our CB video that we released a few weeks ago. I'll just quickly say that starting in May and June, we will be doing citywide participatory budgeting voting. So we look forward to you guys participating in that and helping us get the word out. With that said, I will pass it over to Diana, since she's the one you're here to listen to. Thanks, Diana.
Thank you so much, Benjamin, and thank you all for having me this evening. I see a lot of familiar faces that were on some of my previous workshops with the CEC. Tonight, we're going to learn about mastering effective meetings, tools for productive and engaging meeting facilitation. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a professional registered parliamentarian, credentialed by the National Association of Parliamentarians. I became interested in parliamentary procedure as I was active on my son's Head Start Policy Council, and everyone kept saying, oh, let's use Robert's Rules of Order. No one actually knew what that was. Since then, I've been training nonprofits and local community boards, and also fraternal and sorority and groups and homeowner associations, and teaching them about parliamentary procedure and how they can better move their meetings along using effective meeting strategies. On the slide, my information is on the slide, but the handouts will be emailed out to everyone after this meeting by Benjamin Solitaire. Just a reference and disclaimer, information contained in these slides are as pertain to the current edition of Robert's Rules of Order. We're currently on the 12th edition, and please refer to your current state law, corporate charter, and bylaws. So we'll go over an introduction to Robert's Rules of Order, meeting governance, the role of the chair, role of members, debate decorum. I forgot to add minutes in here, because you specifically requested that, minutes. And also we'll go over some of the subsidiary, privilege, and incidental motions, and how to handle disruptions, and implementing Robert's Rules of Order training by members. So many of you probably wonder, who is Robert and why does he have so many rules? Henry Martin Robert was an engineering officer in the Army. He was active in church and civic organizations, and there was a time when he was asked to chair a meeting and he didn't know how. So that meeting lasted over 36 hours, and he decided that since then he would not ever sit through a meeting that long. It sounds almost like the meeting that just happened recently with Senator Cory Booker. He prepared a few rules, which were about 16 pages. Then he realized that it doesn't meet the needs of every ordinary society. So he decided there's a new type of parliamentary manual that could be used for regular societies and not just in Congress. As you know, Robert's Rules of Order is based on parliamentary law, which actually it has its origins in England. So what is parliamentary procedure and why is it important? It's a set of rules based on parliamentary law for conduct at meetings that allows everyone to have their voice to be heard in a peaceful and constructive way. It allows everyone to make group decisions without confusion so that you know who's chairing the meeting and actually who's speaking, because all questions should go through the chair. And it's used by many boards such as yours, social, nonprofit, community organizations, and deliberative assemblies. Out of most organizations, 98% actually has Robert's Rules of Order as their parliamentary authority, although there are many other authorities out there that are used by other organizations, but Robert's Rules of Order is the most popular one that has been adopted by many organizations. So first off, to begin your meeting, you need your order of business or your agenda. It usually begins with a call to order, roll call so that the chair can determine that quorum is present. You have the approval of minutes. It should also be the adoption of the agenda on here as well. You have the reading of the reports from your standing committees and any ad hoc committees. You also have unfinished business, new business, announcements, if that's called for on your agenda, and adjournment. Just to note that it should be unfinished business. I've seen on many agendas at various community boards where they also had unfinished and old business, and it should be unfinished. They weren't able to tell me what the difference was and why they had it on their agenda twice, but I just had to, help them out and let them know it should be unfinished business. And it's also helpful that the agenda, was there a question?
No.
Okay.
Chair's report. There's no chair's report. Is that the announcements?
The announcements usually come at the end, like to let the community know, or in other organizations, what's coming up. That's what announcements are. The chair or the president of your organization actually should be rendering a report in the beginning, which is part of the reports.
Okay.
I got a question.
Yeah. Yes.
If you had a guest speaker, would that fall under the category of reports?
You can actually modify it. If you had a guest speaker, you can actually add them to the agenda. Some organizations put them under new business, or they would make a special section and have them go based on your run of the show, however you want the presenter to go.
Thank you.
Okay. And also it's helpful that you circulate the agenda beforehand. That way allows members an opportunity to see what business is going to be at hand. And usually the chair works on the agenda with either your district manager or the person who's taking the minutes, so that they can look at the previous minutes to make sure that any unfinished business is added to the current agenda item. It's also great. It's important that everyone is familiar with their governing documents. So according to Robert's Rules of Order, the ranking order of rules would be like your law. In this case, it would be New York State law, corporate charter, bylaws, or constitution. Your rules of order, which would be special rules. It wouldn't pertain to this group, is special rules that are not in your bylaws, but is only refers to like your particular organization. So it's just special rules that are adopted separately. Your parliamentary authority, which is Robert's Rules of Order. Your standing rules are actually where most organizations, they will put like their time limits for their meetings. For the meeting debate. They can also put in like dues if there are dues. So it basically deals with the administrative items of your organization and custom. So as you can see, it's ranked in order. So if anything, like if there's anything in your standing rules and it conflicts with anything in Robert's Rules of Order, then you see it falls to the wayside, and anything that's custom, which isn't written down, is something that's been done for years and everyone just continue to do it. But if there's something in your bylaws and that overrides that, then that custom falls to the wayside. And also if it conflicts with your state law, then that custom doesn't apply. So meeting minutes, it's an official record of your meeting. So it's an accurate documentation of motions and any decisions made from those motions. It is not a transcription of the meeting. I know I've seen minutes, not from this particular group, but I've seen minutes that were like 16 pages long because it was like a transcription of exactly what occurred in the meeting. It gave verbatim as to what is said, and that's not necessary. What should be contained in your minutes, here's a sample template. It should state if it's a regular meeting, a special meeting. Some organizations, if they adjourn or an adjourned regular meeting, they would state that on there as a continuation of a meeting. The name, for instance, this is CB 8 in the Bronx, the date and time of the meeting, notation if the regular chairman or secretary were present, or if there were any substitutes. Normally the chair is the president of the society, but if the chair is not available, then the vice president is actually the next person that should chair. Or in some organizations, they have like multiple vice presidents. In an instance when neither of those are available, then you would have to vote on a chairman pro tem, so a temporary chairman to conduct the meeting for that particular session. And also the secretary must be present. If the secretary is not available to take the minutes, then it's also advised in Robert's Rules of Order that you elect a secretary pro tem to take the minutes. It should also note in your minutes whether the minutes of the previous meeting were approved as read or corrected, and the date of the meeting if it was other than the regular business meeting. Your body of your minutes should contain all main motions that were brought to the table, except when they were withdrawn. Secondary motions were whether they were lost or withdrawn. It's not necessary to record them for completeness or clarity. If oral committee reports are given, then you can give a summary of the oral report. And if there's a written committee report, you can notate that a written committee report will be attached to the minutes, because at the end of most organizations, when they have their minutes, they're sent out in draft. And once approved, they're printed out, they're signed by your president or your secretary. And if you want both to sign it, then you will have to specify that this president and the secretary, but it's allowable according to Robert's Rules of Order. And the last paragraph would list like the hour of adjournment, what time the meeting was adjourned. So as you can see, it doesn't contain the opinions of a secretary. Like for instance, I've seen where it said that member A said this, but she seemed pretty angry. Things like that is not a gossip column, it's minutes. So it's your binding legal documents for your meeting. Some notes on minutes, an amendment before approval. So corrections are usually handled by unanimous consent. For example, your chairperson would ask if there are any corrections to the minutes. If there are no corrections, then the minutes are approved as read or as distributed. It's also advisable that the minutes are emailed out prior to the membership. That way, a good practice, that way you don't have to necessarily take up time to read the meeting minutes verbatim. And you can come prepared to let the chair know if there are any corrections to the minute. But if someone objects to the correction, it's treated as a subsidiary motion. So you amend that particular motion. So it's treated as a main motion, which is amended. When there's an error or an omission discovered after approval, it can be corrected by making a motion to amend something previously adopted, which requires a 2/3 vote or a majority vote with notice, or a majority of the entire membership or unanimous consent. If a member is absent from a meeting, it doesn't preclude him or her from participating and or correcting the minutes or giving corrections for approval. And when the minutes are approved, the word approved is notated on your minutes. And as I stated before, the secretary's signature, date are written below, and you can also have the president or the chairperson actually sign it as well. The chair calls for the reading of the minutes and asks for corrections. And if, for instance, if the chair asks if there are any corrections to the minutes and it wasn't read, any one member can call for the meeting minutes to be read according to Robert's Rules of Order. But if you distribute it out beforehand, there's no need to have them read out, because that usually takes about 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how the length of your minutes. The role of the responsibilities of the chair sets the agenda. The chair is responsible for creating and organizing the meeting agenda to ensure that all necessary topics are covered. Usually that is done with the secretary or your district manager. If you have a parliamentarian, it's a great opportunity for the parliamentarian to look at the agenda to help prepare the chair for any motions that may come up, to make sure that they're properly prepared to handle them. They're responsible for leading discussions. So all questions must go through the chair and not to each other. So there shouldn't be any sidebar conversations or anyone speaking without being recognized by the chair. The chair encourages participation to make sure all voices are heard, and make sure that all members are speaking no more than twice on any given motion, and to make sure there's not like individuals that are overtaking the meeting floor, to enforce the time limits that have been set forth by your group. And the chair must remain impartial, ensuring that the meeting objectives are met without bias towards any participant. The chair is also responsible for maintaining order and decorum. So we guide the meeting and make sure that established norms and procedures are followed. Also, the chair makes sure that the meeting is going on time and following the agenda, and all the agenda items are covered and discussions remain productive. And the chair must actively prevent interruptions to remain respectful in a respectful environment where everyone can express their views. So if there's someone that's just calling out, the chair is responsible for calling them to order and to make sure that they're reminded that all questions must be directed to the chair and not to anyone else, and they must not call out. They must stand up and be recognized by the chair, or in an instance, raise your hand to be recognized by the chair in order to speak. And role of members. Members are encouraged to contribute actively. Members are also encouraged to know their governing documents. There's a member on here that's well astute with the state law and the New York State Charter, Mr. Martin. I met with him last year and to prepare another presentation, and he was well versed on his documents. All members are encouraged to ask questions and ask for clarification on anything, and also sharing perspective, but in a respectful way. And main motions, we get to that, which is introduction of new business. They serve to introduce new business for discussion, and we'll go over how do you introduce that. Many organizations, I've been to a meeting where someone said, I make a motion to, elect another member, and I had to call out a point of order because that wasn't a motion. You have to say, I move. And when you say I move, that actually indicates that a motion is being presented to the floor. And motions are, understanding main motions helps in structuring discussions effectively, allowing meetings to flow smoothly and to remain focused on the essential topics. So when a motion is presented, we have to make sure that everyone stays on topic, and that whatever amendments are made, that they're germane to the motion and on topic. So some steps for making a motion. After obtaining and being assigned the floor, here are the 6 steps to handling a motion. So for example, a member would say, Mr. or Madam Chairperson, and the chairperson would say, Member A,
Well,
you're recognized.
We
Excuse me?
keep getting it stops for a little bit. They're saying our internet connection's unstable. In case.
Oh, I'm sorry.
somebody
Can you hear me now?
Put it off, I need you to come back on.
Okay, hold on. Did she say I needed to come back on or they needed to come back on?
I can still hear.
They look.
Okay. Was I frozen? Because I,
No, I think they look frozen,
oh, okay. All right.
but I'm not sure what they're going to do.
Okay. I thought they were stating that I had to come back on.
They're back.
Okay. All right, great. I had stopped sharing because I thought I had to come back on.
Is it okay in the room there? They look frozen again. Martin, you're okay.
I'm
And
here.
you're okay.
And obviously you're a
Let me go back.
co-host, so it stayed on.
I'm not sure if
Yes.
they can hear us, so
Okay.
I can't see a chat. Martin, can you chat with them, or do you know if they're?
No, I
Yeah,
don't
I
see
can't
them at
see a
all.
chat either. No,
Oh.
and the screen is blank on my,
Oh, I see them as frozen. So, oh, they went away again. Oh, they're back again.
see it? It says it's, okay, I hear someone.
You're back.
No.
Oh, my God.
It's frozen again.
There, she's there, she's fine. You come host.
No, she is.
Hi.
Yeah.
I'm here. I was on with Martin and also with Benjamin.
It looks like the problem is in the board office, not with the speaker.
Okay. Okay.
You can continue, we'll try to follow along.
That's okay. You'll also receive the slides as well, and I believe you all are recording.
Yes,
Well, no, it's not recording,
Yes.
it's Zoom's quitting.
Okay.
no, we are recording.
Oh,
Okay.
Because the cloud, it might just keep recording without it showing. Never lost, yeah, okay.
All right. Give me a second. Okay, here we go. So some examples of subsidiary and privilege and incidental motions. What happened to my screen? Hold on.
It's showing.
Okay, here we go. All right, here we go. So subsidiary motions are used to modify or dispose of main motions, helping to enhance the meeting's decision-making process. Privilege motions addresses urgent matters that require immediate attention in a meeting, ensuring important issues are prioritized. And incidental motions relate to the rules of the meeting, helping to maintain order, procedure, and during discussions. So some examples of a subsidiary motion, I have a chart attached to this presentation, so we're not going to go through every single one of them. One of the subsidiary motions is to amend, so that's when you want to propose a change in wording before the main motion is voted on. You may strike out a word or strike out, for example, if you're doing an event and you don't want the particular place that's proposed, you can move to strike out the name of a particular venue and propose a new venue. And once that amendment is, if it's adopted, then it becomes a new motion. I mean, you have to adopt the main motion in order for it to become in effect. But if it's not adopted, then that amendment no longer is viable. If more time is needed to amend a motion properly or additional information is needed, then you can refer that particular motion to a committee and they will come back with more information for you at the next meeting. You can postpone items to a certain time if the assembly might want to consider a main motion later in the same meeting or another meeting. So you can postpone it to later on in the agenda or at the next meeting. So a member may move to postpone a particular motion. You can also move to limit or extend debates if you notice that a motion is taking a long time to be disposed of and it's worthy of consideration. So a member can move to extend the limits of debate past the 2 or 3 minutes, whatever is adopted in your standing rules, or you may limit the limits of debate to 1 minute or so, or if it's 5 minutes, to limit it to 2 minutes per person. Another example of a subsidiary motion is a previous question. This closes debate, an amendment of a pending motion so that it comes to an immediate vote, but it requires a 2/3 vote. And lay on the table, which is sometimes misconstrued as tabled, but it's the proper usage is lay it on the table. And if you lay something on the table, then you would have to take it off of the table once the particular item has been disposed of. Some examples of privileged motions would be call for the orders of the day. If you notice that the agenda isn't being followed and everyone is their members are veering off course and speaking about other things, a member can rise and call for the orders of the day, and that immediately brings everybody back to the current agenda. And that's a great one if you notice that, you know, everyone is going off topic. Another privileged motion would be recess is a short intermission in a meeting. Adjourn, a member can propose to close the meeting entirely by moving to adjourn, providing that the time for the next meeting is established or set by the organization, and that requires a majority vote. Some examples of incidental motions would be a point of order. So if any member, even though the chair is responsible for keeping order of a meeting, but if any member noticed that there's a breach in any procedure, they may call for a point of order, and it allows the chair to make a ruling on a question involved. So the chair may listen to your point of order and may say, member A, your point is well taken, or member A, your point is out of order. And if that's the case and you still think a breach is not there's still a breach in procedure, you have the right to appeal. And how you would do that, you would say, Mr. or Madam Chair, I appeal the decision of the chair. So then the chair would then proceed and turn it to the membership and have the membership vote on the appeal process to see if there was actually a breach in procedure. Another incidental motions would be for inquiries, which would be a parliamentary inquiry. Say, for instance, a member has a question about parliamentary procedure, it can be referred, the chair would either answer it or refer to the parliamentarian to answer it. Request for more information or point of information, for instance, if you have an event and you're not sure how much money is in your treasury to spend on it, you can ask, request for more information for the treasurer to answer that question, to give information, how much money do you have in the particular account or budget it for that particular event. Request for permission to withdraw or modify a motion after it's been stated by the chair. Say, for instance, you made a motion. You can actually withdraw the motion after the chair has stated it because you changed your mind, and the member, you can withdraw it and without any consequence. So there's always options. If you make a motion, you can change your mind. They say modify, but if you want to modify a motion, it's basically to amend the motion. Was there a question? I saw a finger.
Yeah, I got one question. If for a motion to adjourn for an ad hoc meeting where there's not already a assumed date of when you would next meet, so say there's a motion to adjourn and it's seconded, do you have to set the date for the next meeting, or like what would you do in that case?
If it's an ad hoc meeting, has the whatever business has it been disposed of? Like, for instance, will the ad hoc meeting dissolve after that, or? Because usually ad hoc meetings are established to take up a certain task. So has the task been completed?
Not necessarily. So say it hasn't. I mean, because I would assume that if it has been, then the chair would state that the business has been completed and there'd be a motion to
Correct.
adjourn in a second. But that if it hasn't been resolved by the chair and somebody's saying they would like to make a motion to adjourn and it's seconded as a way to end the meeting to prevent any further discussion, for example, do you have to set a date in order to, like, how do you handle that process?
well, according to Robert's Rules of Order, you would need a date. So what I would recommend, as a member, you can, do you have a regular calendar for? You can actually say, we'll meet in the next, before it's adjourned, or adjourn to meet within 2 weeks, or you can actually give a date that goes in accordance to your regular, ad hoc meeting schedule.
Mhm. Right.
So that would be my recommendation.
I have a question while we're asking.
Yes.
The, a few slides back, you had the refer to committee.
Mhm.
That's a motion someone makes and it gets voted on, but it gets voted on, it's a majority vote, or is it?
Is voted on by,
Go ahead.
an example of referring a item to a committee, then that committee will actually become an ad hoc committee.
No, the way it gets to the committee, because you broke up a little bit, maybe. right?
Okay, sorry. Let me go back.
You broke up a little bit, so if you can go back, so if it's something that should be referred to a committee, somebody makes a motion to refer it to committee, or does the chair just refer it to committee?
You make a motion to refer it to a committee. It's a,
Thank
motion to refer.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question. Can you clarify the distinction between postponing an item and laying it on the table? Is postponement referring only to that meeting? Whereas laying the table could be, delaying something until a future meeting? Is that?
For
accurate?
example, in, Robert's Rules of Order, to lay something on the table, say for instance, you're in the middle of a pending business, pending item, and a dignitary comes into the meeting. For example, your assembly person, and they would like to say a few words. So you would lay that pending business on the table. And once the assembly person has actually spoken, then there's a motion to take it off of the table. So it's done during that meeting. If you're postponing an item, say for, an item of business, you can move to postpone it to take place spoken. For instance, you have a guest speaker who's not a dignitary, and then that item is then added to, to the agenda. So you're postponing it for, a certain time. But if you want to postpone it, a member can say, I move to postpone this meeting, this motion to be handled at the next meeting, the regularly scheduled meeting.
Sergio,
Was that clear?
Sergio, under the city charter, all votes are majority.
Laura, you're just gonna have to.
Majority. Was that description, was that clear?
Yes. There's
Okay.
another question.
When you postpone something, am I correct, there's no discussion on that, or there can be discussion on whether to postpone?
There is discussion. It's debatable. It's a debatable motion.
Oh, okay.
But isn't it the case that tabling is not debatable?
Because it takes precedent, for the example that I gave, if there was an assembly member, or say, for instance, a governor decided to visit your meeting, then that person would take precedence. So you will lay the current item on the table. Some members, some organizations, I've seen them say, we'll table this item, but the proper way to do it in Robert's Rules of Order, you make a motion I move to lay this item, the pending business, on the table, and then there's a motion that will bring it back, take it off of the table so you can take up the pending business once that dignitary has left the room. I can add a script to further clarify this, because these motions, it's actually like different points that conditions that will have to be met as well.
I'm thinking of a different situation. I'm thinking that there's discussion of a motion being held, and then a member raised his hand, said, I would like to table this. That's the situation I'm talking about. When someone makes a motion to table, then you have discussion and a vote, or you have to just have a vote with no discussion. I know we've had this.
No, you
fight.
you should have it should be a discussion, because you need the chair would actually say there's a pending motion on the floor to postpone, which is the correct term, to postpone this item to a certain time. And then, if there are any questions, they will
Okay,
put
so
it forth.
discussion, and then it would be
Uh-huh.
a vote.
Correct.
Thank you.
And I can give an example, I can add it to the slide for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Where was I? So debate decorum. Let's see, how are we on time? So members should be recognized by the chair, as I stated before, and no interruptions are allowed. And debate items must be relevant. So you can't go off topic and start speaking about, you know, something that's go off on a tangent. Members should be limited to 2 to 3 minutes each, and no one speaks twice until every member has spoken. This prevents members from overtaking your meetings. And debate ends when there are no further discussion, or by a 2/3 vote to call the question. So that was
Again,
the
city
motion that
charter
I
excuse me, the city charter still says majority. There's no
will call the question.
supermajority. There is no supermajority under the city charter.
Hello?
Yeah, under the city charter, all votes require a majority, no supermajorities.
Okay. So that supersedes Robert's Rules of Order, the city charter. So you have documentation that you need majority vote for call the question. But if it's not stated anywhere, Robert's Rules of Order states that you need a 2/3 vote to call the question. But thank you, Martin, for that clarification. And that's an example of where to know your rules and ranking order of your rules. Quorum and its importance. A quorum is defined as the minimum number of members necessary for a group to conduct its business. It ensures that decisions are made during meetings are legitimate. Most organizations, they adopt the 50+1 rule in order to state their quorum. Other organizations, according to Robert's Rules of Order, you can adopt your minimum number of members. It makes sure that you have a majority representation and allows the majority's voice to be heard and represented in the decision-making process. It's important to confirm that there's a quorum. There's a representative in your group. Quorum can be confirmed through various methods.
I thought it froze again.
Can you hear me?
We
Yes.
can hear
No,
you.
no.
About
Okay.
How much more time for your presentation? I hate to.
Okay, I'm
Mhm.
sorry.
Okay.
I'm gonna send out the presentation. This was quorum,
I'm sorry
handling
that it kept
disruptions.
freezing
That's
last
okay.
time.
I know, okay, but I'm gonna send this out. So common pitfall, so give me 2 more minutes. So common pitfalls to avoid, ignoring proper procedures, neglecting quorum, and allowing dominance by individuals in your meetings. It's important, you guys are going through ongoing education and reinforcement of learning about proper parliamentary procedures so you can run your meetings more effectively. And some resources if you require additional assistance, the National Association of Parliamentarians, where you can become a member and continue your education, and also if you're interested in becoming credentialed. And I have an electronic unit called the Greater Parliamentarians of Brooklyn, New York, and the email for interest in membership or to get more information will be on the resources. This will also be in your handout. And also Robert's Rules of Order motion chart for you. So I believe I answered some of the questions. If there are any more questions, I'll take them now.
Is there
I
a
just
Bronx
have one
version of the
question.
Brooklyn?
Who's that?
There is a Bronx, you can go on the National Association of Parliamentarians website to look at, you can find other units within your geographic area.
I have just a quick question. As chair,
Yes.
may the chair make a motion to, like, let's say adjourn or put a motion on the floor? Or is that something that we're supposed to step away from?
The chair is supposed to be impartial, so a chair doesn't make motions. And according to Robert's Rules of Order, if a chair wanted to make a motion, they will relinquish their seat until that pending business has been disposed of.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, are there any other questions? Well, I hope this was helpful and thank you for having me. Apologize for any technical glitches on my end.
No, I think it was on us.
Okay. And if you have any questions, my contact information will be on, and thank you again for having me, and I'm signing off.
Thanks so much, everybody.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Diana. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you, Martin.
That was good.
Julie, thank you for inviting her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll thank Farah too.
Thank Farah.
Yes.
Thank Farah.
I think Sergio told her he's tired of me asking him questions. I know, right? That was good. Okay, so,
Send it out to all community board members.
Yeah.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, because it's a lot.
That was very good.
With the video starring Ramdot as well.
Yeah,
From
was-
CEC, I
is
didn't
that-
send it yet, I'm
that's
gonna
not
send
up
it.
yet?
No, I'll
That
send
was
it
so
with that.
good. And Jalen's in there as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can I offer a comment?
Yes.
I have been last year, 2 years ago, I zoomed in on a number of presentations by Ben and his organization and was terribly, and I have a whole lot of letters I sent to him because in spite of the fact that they understand the concept of precedence, which is their word, that law and city charter and our bylaws precede Robert's rules, they don't seem to incorporate that into their comments. So Robert's rules are important, but we know some of their comments, for example, minutes is not arbitrary. Sending out an agenda is not arbitrary. Under the open meetings law, we have a clock that tells us when things have to go out. So just remember you have OML to deal with aside from, in addition to, and superseding Robert's rules. My comment.
Thank you, Marty. Okay, so we will move along and do roll call.
Okay, Julie Reyes,
Present.
Sergio Villaverde, Margaret Della, absent. Joy Campbell Privateer,
Present.
Laura Spalter,
Present.
Sylvia Alexander,
Present.
Constance Barnes Watson. She's absent but on Zoom. Bob Bender,
Here.
Mary Ellen Gibbs, absent. Edward Green,
Present.
Rashida Hilliard,
Here.
Rabbi Bob Kaplan, absent. Charles Mordler, absent. Daniel Rowan.
Here.
Ramdat Singh,
Present.
Deborah Travis.
Present.
Martin Wolpov.
Present.
12, we have quorum.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go on to the next item of the agenda, the executive committee minutes of March 5th. Is there any discussion on the minutes?
Oh, actually, David Gelman did want to bring up one correction. Do you want to mention that? Okay.
Okay, this is on behalf of Chair David Gelman. He's asking to correct the March exec minutes so that the Budget Committee report reflects the following. It's taken from the recording. The Borough President Budget Report did not highlight any of our requests, and the city agency responses to 30 CBH submitted 23 capital and 30 expense requests, but only charted 10 capital and 5 expense requests. Committee chairs appear to be progressing on potential fiscal year 27 requests.
This will be an example when she says it doesn't have to be a transcript. Okay, anybody have any comments? Bob is shaking his head.
No, I have no comments, that's all.
Okay, so then the minutes are approved with his additions.
Great.
Okay, thank you. So then we'll go on to the treasurer's report.
All right, good evening, everyone. This is the treasurer's report for April 2025. The main difference between March is that $870 was spent for code 400. I'm sorry, code 600. And the 870 is basically allocated for cleaning, Zoom, supplies, and also rent. All right, so item 1, we have 9,575 remaining in OTPS. 1.2, we do have budget modifications. I'll just skip ahead. 1.3, 0 funds requested, 0 encumbered. And for rent, the difference between this budget and last month, 274 for heat and light. Directing your attention to addendum A. So this concerns reallocating 23-27 that we already have in the budget. And that would be reallocated for postage. So the reallocated amounts are in the parentheses. Telecommunications equipment, we have 500 being put into office equipment, 100 for general expenditures, increase in travel expenditures, $1,000 in code 499, which is our cushion, 100 into contractual services, $90 into maintenance, and $100 going into code 706. The budget modification reads as follows. The following table details the current operational budget for fiscal year 2025 for Bronx Community Board 8 and the budget modifications necessary to properly reallocate funding to support the work of the board office. Whereas to support the work of the board office, a budget mod for fiscal year 25 has been prepared and is below. Be it resolved, Bronx Community Board 8 approves the budget modification in order to further support the work of the community board office. Directing your attention to addendum B. This is for transferring $11,000 from personal services to other than personal services. And that would bring personal services down from 125,395 to 114 and change, and bring the OTPS category up from 9575 to 2575. And the budget modification reads as follows. Addendum B, the following table details the current operational budget for fiscal year 2025 for Bronx Community Board 8 and the budget modifications necessary to properly reallocate funding to support the work of the board office. Whereas the Office of Management and Budget has confirmed that funds are available to transfer from personal services to other than personal services. Whereas to support the work of the board office, a budget mod for fiscal year 25 has been prepared. Whereas 11,000 from personal services will transfer to OTPS, broken down as follows. So 6,400 will go into general supplies, 1,600 will go into printing supplies, and 3,000 will go into code 406, which our district manager will speak more about. Be it resolved, Bronx Community Board 8 approves the budget modification in order to further support the work of the community board office. That's the treasurer's report for April 2025.
Marty has his.
Marty?
Yeah, just out of curiosity, the $11,000 taken out of personnel, are we assuming that the money being held in reserve won't be necessary?
Yes, OMB takes that into consideration, so, yes. It's,
Okay.
they take that in consideration, knowing that we're holding aside the money for what we were holding it aside for before.
Fine.
But we're still covered in the
We're still covered.
eventuality if we have to.
They wouldn't let us take it if it wasn't there for us to have.
That's it?
Yeah.
That was it.
And you joined.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, thank you, thank you. So, the resolution then, that's all.
We're gonna do this with Jalen.
Yeah, so should I do that next, or do you wanna do?
Yeah, since it's following the treasurer's.
Okay. So there is a resolution brought to the table here that, everyone has a copy of. It was not, sent earlier. It was a resolution to continue with paid intern from, after April 8th,
Well, not to continue to start.
or to start, excuse me, April 9th through June, through the rest of our term through June 30th. If the budget does get approved, we will have the money to cover that cost. And the resolution is as follows, whereas the Bronx Community Board 8 District Manager requests an intern to assist in the board staff with duties such as not limited to working on the office filing system, greeting incoming calls and constituents at the office, updating office records, establishing a system tracker of past committee meetings, resolutions, setting up meeting locations for the public and board members, acting as a greeter during public meetings, interacting with elected officials and the public, administrative duties on the computer, attending and tabling street fair events, and more. And whereas DMQ Rubin has conferred with the board treasurer and board chairperson, and note that a stipend of approximately $32.50 would be available for the intern from April 9th, 2025 to June 30, 2025. And hopefully Bronx Community Board 8 approves the inclusion of a paid intern at the board office.
Could I go back one step?
Sure.
Under the appropriations in the OTPS with the $11,000.
Yeah.
The modifications, you started with 25,484. You put in 11,000. And you have 20,575. That doesn't make sense.
Okay, because we didn't make the changes on that yet for OTPS. Once the 11,000 goes in, then those numbers will change because hold on, I think OTPS is 2575 right now. What is it at right now?
OTPS is 25,484.
Oh, no, yeah, 25,484. The remaining balance we had was
Plus.
9,575. So if you add the 11,000, it becomes
I know,
25,775.
but that's not noted, so how would anybody know?
Because it's OTPS is on the first page, if you look at it. Table 1.1. So the remaining we have is 9,575
Plus 11,000.
plus 11,000 will be 25,775.
I see the 9,575.
Yeah. So, sorry, we can
Well,
say refer to
Maybe in
1.1.
the, in that little,
Yeah,
it should have been mentioned in some way, because
okay,
I wouldn't have thought to look there.
sure.
Maybe just add a remaining column,
Yeah, or refer to
Table,
actually,
1.1.
because this is only 3 columns, which is just because you're ignoring the remaining column, you're showing budgeted.
Yeah.
But I
No,
see why that was confusing, because right, you don't know the
I
remaining
will see
from that.
that. I think that'll clear it up if we
Yeah,
refer
yeah,
to
yeah,
table
yeah.
1.1.
No, I don't say that you did anything wrong.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just
no, it's a
The
good
math
point.
doesn't work.
Any other comments or questions? Go ahead, Deb.
One question, it's very, very minor, but, I see that, so $3,000 is going to be transferred to code 406 for professional services. Which is, for the intern, yeah, but 406 only has $249, so you're $1 short of the $3,250 that you're
That's why
paying.
she put approximately 250, because I said we have
Okay.
approximately, it's
So
248,
she's actually being paid
75 exactly.
$3,249.
Yeah, we won't pay her a dollar more than what we have.
And she,
Okay,
and
just
she
making
doesn't
sure.
necessarily get it all, because like the last time when we received the money to pay,
Yeah.
there was like, what, 250, 240?
Well, that's what's
Like there was
left.
money left over, we don't just
Because-
automatically, it goes by the hours and how much she works, or he, so that if we get, let's say we get 3,000, and if they stop like a month from now, we still have that money inside.
Got it. Okay. I just didn't want to get caught in a pinch where
Sure.
they laid $1 short, literally.
And we run everything through OMB first before we get an approval. They have to look at everything and check the figures, and they respond back to us in writing, yes. Any other questions or comments?
I mean, if you want, we can change it to the exact number, but,
Doesn't say, no, it says approximately.
okay, good.
That's fine.
Okay. Okay, great, so that takes care of that, that'll be presented at the meeting, and people will get a copy by them.
You could actually have it say a stipend of up to 3,250, if you wanted to make it a little more accurate to what you just described, where, I mean, maybe it,
The reason that, and Farrah, you can answer this, but before you do, the reason that I personally wouldn't, because let's say, because there is still money that in May we'll be able to even get more, hopefully.
Mhm.
So in May, if there's enough money to do this same thing, and if we have more events, because we've had a lot of events, and that's where the intern helps us out a lot in the office, and if she gets more hours, we can ask for more, so I don't wanna block it in, so approximately, just in case we get more money, she can get more than that. Cause this is just like maybe what, 2 days a week?
Yeah, 2
Yeah.
days a
This
week,
is
but
approximately 2 days a week, and if we have more, because towards the end, in May, how Bob had brought up before, we have money, let's spend it, so this is just like some of it, and then in May, we'll be able to empty it all out.
you wouldn't come back to the board to get an additional resolution for the
Oh, sure.
additional money?
If there's money, yeah.
yeah,
Right, so
Another
that,
But we
budget
wanna
now.
wait until May, just in case.
right, but I'm just saying that if it said, a note, that a stipend of up to 3,250 wouldn't preclude you from coming back and asking
That's
for
if the money's still
additional.
there, you never know with this,
Well, right, of course.
so I'd
Yeah.
rather, be open than limited.
Okay.
Just in case, let's say the city says, oh, listen, we're gonna cut funds. I'd rather have it than not. Anything else? Farrah, you wanna comment? Cause that's just my opinion.
I'm fine, actually, either way, it's like a $1.50 that we're talking
Okay.
about here.
So then we'll leave it at
Um,
approximate.
And again, I'm very aware of the money that we have, the exact amounts, so I would never pay or authorize any payments, even a dollar above what we have in the account. I do get what you're saying, I do get what Julie's saying, but yes, if we do need more money, we will do another budget mod. And then we can do an exact amount maybe then.
And Farrah does weekly timesheets with how many hours and how much they get paid to make sure that we stay in budget.
Mhm.
Okay, so then we'll go on to the chair's report. I'll just say we have the community forum set for next Tuesday, for the migrants at 6:30 at the Y. The ad hoc committee, and I'm just saying this briefly because Farrah will go into everything probably in detail. The ad hoc committee that we have put together, Karen, Walter, and Joe Towns, they were taking a look at the if anything should be moved around, changed around, any changes. Feel that they need a little bit more time, so they may continue, maybe next term, they'll continue looking into it. But then again, if anyone believes that certain committees should be joined at this time, we would have to vote for it May and June. So it doesn't preclude, but just those two to make a decision with their report, that's always on the table. And that's what they were looking at. They were looking at the board structure, the meetings, how can we get more participation, and they feel they need a little bit more time. Because that would entail a bylaws change. They would come to us first, well, actually, they went to the law, rules and ethics, and also present at the exec. So, well, you're no longer exec. I wish you were, but you're no longer exec, so I can't call on you. You look like you have a question. No, okay. So then, Farah and I visited, a local shelter. It was very positive meeting, very good meeting. I'll let Farah go into it, and we have certain board members that did not reapply. For chairmanship, we had Kelly Buford, David Gelman, Josh Land, Oscar Martinez, and Omar Murray. And with that, we're going to be, posting that we have elections for the Traffic and Transportation Committee, since they don't have a vice chair that can actually be the chair, because you can only be a chair of one committee. So the vice chair of Traffic and Transportation is already a chair of a committee. So we'll be having elections. We'll make notice of it for the next two meetings. And if none is elected in the next two meetings, then we have our elections in June. We'll have a chair for traffic.
Now we understand the vacant.
Way over my head.
So that's pretty much it for mine. Any questions, comments?
Just a question on procedure. TNT is a busy committee that
Yeah.
has resolutions that need to be passed
Mhm.
and so forth. Without a chair, I mean, I assume the vice chair will be kind of acting to do that. I mean,
No.
so does that mean we won't be able to pass any resolutions, or
Oh,
we
no, we'll
move,
pass
stay
it.
opposed to other committees?
As long as we have quorum, as long as quorum shows up, the committee can still move along.
Okay.
We just need quorum. And if we don't have quorum, like what happened in economic development last night, you can still discuss it and then from the floor make recommendations.
Okay,
Mhm.
so will you be preparing the agenda then for TNT? Or,
Well, Julie could designate a member
Yeah.
to be a
Be chair.
chair of the meeting.
Yeah. We'll still have the meetings and we'll still have, hopefully, it would be nice if we have quorum, because then we can do the resolution from the committee. Otherwise, it will come from the floor, like what economic development will do this evening.
got it. Okay.
So tonight will be a showing of what will happen.
Buckle up.
Any other questions, comments?
So if the chair is vacant like that, since nobody's officially the chair, the vice chair, I'm assuming, can show up to exec and conduct business as the acting
As a
chair?
vice chair.
Okay.
Well, not as the acting chair, because the vice chair for traffic and transportation, she's a committee chair of her own committee. And the board would only allow you to chair one committee at a time.
It's
So-
only with TNT.
Yeah.
Because economic development, Constance is the vice
Right,
chair.
now, we're just talking about this, okay? So you have economics, you have Constance, the vice chair. So according to the bylaws, because, and Marty and I went back and forth with this. According to the bylaws, upon death, resignation, termination, removal of any officer or elected committee chairperson, that vacancy is created, is filled by the board, right? So this person, right here, didn't die, didn't resign, didn't terminate, wasn't removed. Then the next sentence, it says, notwithstanding the provisions of this section, upon the occurrence of a vacancy in the position of the chairperson, the vice person shall assume the position of chairperson. So in traffic and transportation, that would be Mary Ellen, who's already a chair. She cannot chair two committees. But with the economic development, Constance was a vice chair, so she is now the chair for economic development and budget. The vice chair.
The vice chair did that.
She's like, I didn't say anything, I just did this.
Joy.
Don't put my committee chair.
why, and when I first read it, Marty and I, we went back and forth because it looks like it contradicts each other, but when I read it again, it's the board fills if you resign, terminate, or remove. You know, like Kelly's, no, Rosemary resigned, like Rosemary would have been a chair and she resigned, then the board could. Yeah. So the only elections for now is in traffic and transportation for the next 2 months.
I'm sure Laura has a long memory that there was a member of the board who used to go crazy that we had to have within 2 months an election to fill vacancies. So that goes to the second sentence rather than the first sentence. And I find it, I never realized it before, but those two sentences are somewhat confusing.
Right, until you like really look at it, and then you see, that's why there's two different circumstances.
But they both require being filled within 2 meetings, right?
The posting of it, to let the board members know that there is a vacancy. Within the next 2 meetings, we have to post that there's a vacancy.
I thought the vote had to be,
No, because remember in September, we didn't even have a chair because we went a few months without, I think Rhonda, you helped us out with one committee. Yeah, AG, and then, Bob Fanuzzi helped us out with ENS. He didn't want to be a chair, but they continued to help out. We didn't have a chair for a couple of months. As long as we post it, we have to post the vacancy within the next 2 meetings.
I just asked because I was voted onto the Parks Committee as chair originally
Yeah.
in a very hasty vote that happened in real time.
Yeah,
Because we had to have the vote at that meeting. And that
Yeah,
was a meeting
that was
in.
probably because Laura was smart. She wants a chair in there.
I'm hiding. Meeting ended up in
Please note the acoustics are degrading. It's hard to hear.
But Julie, I do think you have to post the opening
Yeah,
fairly
within the
soon,
next-
right?
Within the next 2 meetings.
Yeah.
It says, it has to be posted within a written notice not later than the second regular meeting following the vacancy. So the vacancy just occurred
Yeah.
April 1st. So this meeting and this is April, by May, I have to post it. But I'm posting it in April.
Yeah,
because I
makes
don't want a
sense.
vacancy,
Right,
you know?
exactly, yeah.
And this is the economic development.
Traffic.
With the traffic and transportation, unless he like re-ups and comes back.
He didn't reapply. I just learned tonight.
See how you confuse
I didn't know
it?
Didn't
Okay, so
Kelly and Josh.
And Rosemary, that whole committee.
did you guys hear?
I just got clarified,
Okay.
my agent.
Okay, but did you hear? Do you
No, I
understand?
did not, that's
Okay.
why I asked the question.
But do you understand it now?
Now I do.
Okay.
Yes, I'm
Good
surprised,
enough.
but yes, I do.
Okay, here we go. So then we will go on to the district manager's report.
Okay, good evening. Happy Volunteer Month. I have posted, many volunteer opportunities with organizations in our district. The flyer is on our door. We posted on social media. I did hold my monthly district service cabinet meeting on April 1st. My next one will be on May 6th. I will send my minutes with all the details on that. And again, if you have anything for my May meeting, please send that to me. I attended the Bronxborough Service Cabinet meeting today, which had presentations from HPD on maintenance units and how they enforce violations, and from New York City Neighborhood Support Team on quality of life. I will also send those presentations when they start. I attended a briefing by the Transit Authority, MTA, with our chair on the ADA project at West 242nd Street Station. It will be completed in Q4 2026. I did ask if they can present on this briefing at a TNT meeting this year to update everyone. Councilman Dinowitz's office is doing a walkthrough next week with the businesses affected by this project on West 242nd Street and invited us to attend. I did ask the members of the Economic Development Committee to attend as their commercial corridor walkthrough location this month. So hopefully some of them can attend. I did a walkthrough with Alina Dow of the mayor's office and members of the boards of 601 and 609 Capoc Street to discuss the issues on the ownership of that dangerous pathway between the two buildings and what options there might be on this. I connected them with our local historian to find out the origins of this pathway and who owns it, and then we'll just keep going from there. Chairperson Reyes and I attended a meet and greet with the program director of West Tab and representatives from Department of Homeless Services at the Waldo Sanctuary, which is now considered a family shelter in our district. We discussed resources we have available to them, as well as informing them of our Know Your Rights Forum for Immigrants and Neighbors. We sent them the flyer, so they were very receptive to that. We have not had any issues with this shelter here. They said the community is very welcoming and the families are integrating well into the neighborhood. I'm working with Department of Buildings in our office with DOB for an April date, and we have our first tabling event coming up May 18th at for the North Riverdale Block Festival. I will be ordering many supplies for our events and reordering resource guides when we have an approved budget. Working with our, I have been working with our intern Deontay to update and keep comprehensive lists of all of our past awardees for all of the Bronx Community Board 8 awards. We don't have a list from the very beginning. So I'm putting together all those lists for our records. It'll make it easier in the future. I did print the amended April's meeting calendar, but I will be amending it one more time to include the forum at 6:30, which is not on there. So thank you for bringing that to my attention. And lastly, I will be off this Friday. So please let me know if you need anything tomorrow. I will be back Monday and Artie will be here in my absence. Thank you.
I'd just like to add that when we met with them, they mentioned that group Friends of Waldo, that they've taken donations for that shelter. So if you have anything, and we'll be posting something with that Friends of Waldo. And they will be putting the our Tuesday forum on their TV, so the residents in the place can go downstairs and take in the forum.
What kind of donations,
Yeah.
any particular
They
kind?
take clothes, toys, food, they take everything.
I think they said they'll send us what the needs are.
Yeah, and you're gonna be in touch with the Friends of Waldo too.
Yeah, I have to get in touch.
Yeah,
with
so
them.
we'll get you more info on that. What a nice place.
Could I ask a question?
Okay, first Bob, Rachida, and Sylvia.
No, I just wanted to.
No,
ask-
wait, cause they raised their hand and I took the them, so it goes.
Okay, no
wow.
problem.
So you're used to being on the screen.
Um,
Where I kept my mouth shut.
No, cause I looked for you at the beginning of the movie, of the meeting, I looked up, I said, where's Sylvia?
Surprise.
I know, this is Bob, Rashida, and Sylvia.
So I'm interested to hear that they're looking for clothing because I did stop in that shelter a few months ago and they said they had so much clothing they didn't need or want anymore. I mean, maybe the situation's changed when we get their request. We'll find out. The other thing I wanted to say is that for this meeting we're having next week, prior to the board meeting about immigrants and, you know, their rights and what we should know and so on. I just want to commend Farah because I know it took a long time to find a group that was available, that had the expertise and was available to come to speak to us, because there's been so much demand for this kind of information from so many groups that everybody was booked up. And Farah
Thank
just
you.
persisted until she found someone qualified.
I do want to add to that we did call all of the elected official offices and some agencies who have provided us with a ton of literature, palm cards, on all of this. So we will have a lot of that at the meeting and continue to distribute through our office. So everyone was very supportive of it.
Okay, Rashida? Thank you. This question is in reference to, I think you mentioned a family shelter. So is this open to anyone who is in need? Because this came up in our meeting, where there was nothing was specified that it was someone who was a migrant or immigrant or what have you. It was just someone who was at loss, a mother and child, and approached someone in the committee, not knowing you're, part of the community board, and said, I'm looking for a shelter.
Well, they did mention they have to go through the PATH.
They have the intake,
The
like
PATH
everybody.
intake center, and then they deem where they would go, because they are a family shelter that can accommodate large families, whereas there's other shelters that they run that are for smaller families. So they deem where they can send them based on what's available and what the need is.
And in the Bronx, the intake center is by 149th Street. Right. Was it pathway, yeah. Tell them, direct them there, and then they'll be able to be put in a place that will suit them.
Now, I'm not sure who the person was, this just happened, a committee member said she had been walking on the street and she saw a mother and child, and the person was just like, I need a place to go. And this kind of sparked the conversation during our meeting, I don't know if I followed the protocol that was mentioned, but, but it just sparked the
Protocols
conversation.
always go through Farrah.
Like information cards from DHS for the PATH Center, that's something we can get and have here, so people know where to go.
And look at the housing resources, there should be a section in there about shelters. And then if not, we need to put it in, but I'm almost sure that there is.
That's,
Yeah, yeah, and if not, definitely something for us to update, because Farrah's gonna be, ordering more, and if it's not in there, that's an easy edit. And Sylvia?
Two things, or three things. One is that I'd like to ask, Farah, in terms of, tabling with our products that we give away. I know that last year we spent a lot of money. Is that, it's all gone? Because 2 years ago, well, I guess it was you, ordered new things, but there were old things that were still in the closet that, of course, you probably gave away also, but, are you taking into consideration the budget?
Of course. That's why, this is what I need to replace, the budget that we're requesting right now. The only thing I have right now are poop bags. So, there's no hand sanitizer, we need to replace everything.
You gave them.
We are doing a lot more events, a lot more giveaways, which is great. So I just wanna make sure we have enough for the events that we're doing. And hence, that really is the biggest need for this budget mod, is to get money for replenishing our supplies. Also, toner is very expensive, and we need to replenish a lot of the toner now. But it's thousands of dollars to do
I
that.
know.
Yeah,
Last
so,
year it was astounding.
yeah, so we need, I'm very,
The building is closing. Oh,
spending the money that we need like to the dollar, really. So I try to project as best I can on our needs, and that's where this money comes from. Joy does have a list to the dollar of what I plan on spending, and how much it's gonna cost, and that came out to $11,000.
And can
In
I,
addition to what we have right now.
I'm sorry, can I just say, when Farrah was hired, one of the things that she discussed and we wanted was to be more proactive in the community. And since Farrah's been here, we more than double the events that we do. Off the top of our heads the other day, we thought of 10, I'm sure there's more. And in each event, if you bring at least 150, that stuff is gone in a minute. So we did way more events last year, and this year we'll be doing more, so it goes quickly.
No,
And
but
it's
all,
expensive. Yeah.
all I'm bringing up is that 2 years ago, a lot was purchased.
And
Backpacks and
Mhm.
all jackets and hats and
Hats
God knows what.
yeah.
And, after searching some of the
jackets.
closets, they found stacks of stuff.
Come to an event and you'll
Not
see.
newly bought, but from previous years
Yeah.
that weren't
But
used.
yeah, I continue
So I just wanna
use
make
that.
sure that that is being done so that we don't have to spend money recklessly.
I just,
No
I just wanna say, closet space is at a premium, and we know every inch of what's in that closet.
They get funded.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
no,
don't know how they got it in,
no,
but
but when I was chair for 3 years, there was constant inventory and there was constant replenishing, and we're giving out a lot of stuff. People come to the table, they didn't know what the board was. They take, also, what was important, we made a little brochure about what is the board and what do we do and how do you
Right.
join, and, you know, so it's not just goodies, it's information,
and
that
if
we
they see
send.
something, free, they take it, and I don't blame them. You
Yeah,
know,
what I'm saying is,
you know, other
every year, it's part of the budget.
Mhm.
And in addition to all the resources, it makes us very popular and getting more and more calls to be in these tabling events, so it's nice, it's really great.
The second question is, and you probably don't know, in terms of the, meeting with the immigrants, on the 8th, before our meeting.
Then I think the correct word is migrants, you know?
What?
Migrants.
It's on immigration though.
What did you say?
Go ahead, the meeting on Tuesday?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
What about?
I'm wondering if, the material that I saw on my computer, which is probably the same as everyone else, it leads me to believe that you have to read English in order to understand it. I know that the 3 council people are involved, it's not just us. Is everything being translated? Because the immigrants don't speak English, most of them. I can't say everyone doesn't, but, I don't know them, but, it would be a waste if they weren't there, because this is really for their benefit, and they're things that they should know. And the only way it would be handled is if it was in Spanish.
I had that same thought about they should be there until Bob and I, Farah, had a meeting with a few elected officials and their representatives who, I think Councilman Dinowitz pointed it out that it would be best if they were not there, especially now. And that was like a few weeks ago, especially now, because if they are there, you know, the government is looking for people. And if they know that we're holding a forum, they will come there and just swoop people up. So that the fact that it's on Zoom is great, the materials being that it's in English. From experience, I know that most immigrant people, they know a little English, but their children know more. And a lot of immigrants don't read their own language because they don't get that education from where they come from. So it kind of would be best to have the materials more in English, of course, in other languages, not just Spanish, but other languages. But English would be best if we had to choose because their children could read it to them. Because if it was in their language, they don't have the education. I have friends who are well educated, they don't, I could read the language, they can't, because you're just not educated in reading the language.
Well, I just want to add to that even today at the shelter, I was asking what, is it mostly Spanish speaking? And they said, no, it's all different languages.
Really?
Yeah.
And a lot of the material we got is translated Spanish and English, so the literature we have is. But I was surprised to hear that as well, that it's many languages, it's not mostly Spanish. So, if we did it in Spanish, they wouldn't understand that either.
Mhm. Well, I just, it struck me that it was for English-speaking people, as far as the advertisement and the, video thing that they have on the screen. I personally know someone who has been in the country about 40 years from the Dominican Republic, and his English is so bad that, I can't, his children speak English, but he can't get the language, so I just felt that there should be a crutch for the ones that don't speak, English.
But can they read their language? That's the important thing. People understand more English than you give them credit for, you know, but it'll
Well,
work
I'm
out.
just hoping.
Yeah, it'll work out, and then if you have people who can translate, for sure, let's translate in so many different languages. You know, that would be
Okay.
great,
I thought I'd bring it up.
thank you. Okay, so we'll do the reports, we'll start with the aging. Mary Ellen, is anyone else here from health? Well, they're going to have a meeting April 10th. We'll go on to the budget.
I read my statement about amending the exec
Okay,
minutes,
the
so.
budget, all the committees, David did mention that the committees, and they're doing a good job in discussing their budgets, and that I have to give him credit for always getting on all the committee chairs every month, saying, do your budget, so that he did comment on.
And then I think April 20th was the date he gave everyone to have it by.
Yeah. Okay.
And if not, then contact us to let us know when you will have it by.
And you're gonna put a notice out for chair, right? For
We'll
budget?
discuss that later.
Okay.
Okay, so then, the next is economic development. Now, economic development last night did not have a quorum, and their chair wasn't, well, actually, like tonight, the chair is present but absent because they're on Zoom, but they did discuss the awards that they're having, and they had, they had a committee meeting, and their recommendations, but they're coming to the board, rather to the executive board, to give their recommendations on their most valuable merchants award. So Constance, can you hear?
Are they frozen?
I think she's
Constance?
muted.
Oh, yeah, let me
Okay,
unmute.
so she's moving.
I'm on the train.
Oh,
Oh, she's on the
okay.
train.
Okay, so we'll come back to you then. We'll come back to you. Okay, so the next is education and libraries
Sylvia?
and cultural affairs.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm wondering if that speaker is working down there. Maybe you should pull the plug and, like Emily did the other day, and.
No, it's
see-
working. It's
Yeah,
on.
it's not gonna work
Oh,
for
yeah,
you,
I don't hear
it doesn't amplify in the room.
I can hear you.
Thank you.
Oh, I guess I'm going to.
It doesn't amplify in the room.
We,
That's-
had a meeting on the 25th, and, we had two SAPOs that we voted on. One is for the, the Amalgamated Nursery School. Melissa Jackson was, at the meeting. They're having a, event, their spring bazaar on, May 18th. They're closing the street at Gale Place between Olaf Avenue and then Colton Park South from 7 o'clock to 3 o'clock. And, they had it last year and the year before, and, many years, in a row. And everything worked out very well, and, the committee voted unanimously to support it. So I hope the board does too. And the other, staple is from the, Kabbat of Riverdale for Lag BaOmer picnic on, May 15th. And the street that's being closed is West 235th Street between Independence Avenue and Douglas Avenue between 10 a.m. and 7 p.m. And, that was held very well, and, that was also free. We don't really have to, do a vote on it, and the board doesn't either. The committee and the board, because it's a, religious, institution, and they only are responsible to get okay from the police and the fire department. That's been for a number of years now, and, it's still the same way. They have changed the rules for them. And then, well, I don't know, I guess transportation, has the result that I am, emotional about, so I'll leave it for them to present it.
Okay, so any questions or comments for Sylvia? Okay, thank you, Sylvia. We're going to environment and sanitation. Daniel?
Okay, our next meeting will be after the full board meeting on the 16th. At our last meeting, BCEQ presented on Harlem River fun time. And we also talked about Bruckner boxes, which are apparently not something to request for the budget, but just talk to DEP.
I think they are something to request for the budget.
But it's
We
gonna
got,
be
DEP came,
It'll be
they
part.
said for parks, yeah.
Yeah, I did it as a DEP, DPR thing.
The DEP acted like it's all good.
Can I add to that? I just spoke to her. She's, the DEP will not, said Parks has to do all the work. They're not gonna do any of it. They're responsible to open the street, reconnect after doing the work and closing the street. So.
Was Parks on, at the,
No.
no, yeah.
But Parks, I will speak to them and, you know, and I did ask, is there a budgetary request for this now?
Okay. Yeah, it's on the, we submitted our final and it's in there.
Okay, great.
Okay, and budget was what we talked about, was, and we will finalize that all. If anyone has suggestions for places where, there should be tree gardens, rain gardens rather, email the office or tell us, because they want specific requests, not like, look at Riverdale and give us rain gardens. They want to be like, give us a rain garden right here. And then they'll maybe respond better than take this request away, which is the way they responded to that. So I'm gonna say that to everybody.
Can you explain it? A rain garden?
A rain garden. Sorry, the rain garden's in somewhere else. A rain garden is like a big tree box to absorb more water in a storm. So sometimes they'll connect, you know, like if there's two street trees near each other, instead of it being two little squares, it'll be like one long rectangle, maybe with a curb cut so that water running down will also run in there and then it would soak into the ground. But I guess a lot of areas around here are very rocky, they claim. They say the bedrock is close to the soil, so it wouldn't absorb enough to warrant it. But I feel like there's definitely, certainly any are better than none, which is currently how many we have right now. So if there are any areas or things, places where it seems like you could, that makes sense, tell us.
On public property.
Yeah, on
Yeah.
sidewalks or by the street side, yeah,
Public property.
yeah.
Right away.
Great, thank you.
I think even the plan for 254th will include some of them once that stops being private. When they were paving it, there's, in the plans, there's multiple
Rain garden.
and tree plantings, like, you know, on both sides, kind of like where they decided it was appropriate. Is part of their plan.
So this is the committee that's looking for, people, not DEP necessarily.
We're just looking forward for them to ask DEP
Propose.
to do, yeah.
Okay.
Because they want everything very specific. So more specific than what we were saying, which was just study it for places, and they're like, well, you just tell us places. Of course,
Thank you, Daniel.
but that's it.
We'll go with, health and hospitals. Anyone have a report? The next meeting is scheduled for April 28th. We'll go on to land use. Marty, are you reporting for land use?
I guess I am. There are two items coming up on April 7th. Land use meeting, no. April 14th would be the land use meeting. Two items. One is on the Sycamore Place, which was put over from the last meeting. There were errors in their presentation and there was missing information. Missing stuff was they really had not had not satisfactorily advised us that they had contacted the neighbors nearby. They want to expand the house, put put an annex to it to accommodate more bedrooms. We have no problem with that. It was the errors that bothered us and the lack of communication that bothered us. So they're coming back at this meeting with all the stuff that we've asked for. The second thing I find problematic, and that is we did not establish, we thought we did in the beginning, but we have not established a good relationship with Innovative Development, which has two sites, one on 3111 Henry Hudson Parkway. They have a demolition permit, so the mansion that is there, I haven't been out of the house mostly, so I don't know if it's still there, but it'll be gone shortly and they'll begin their project. There's still a battle over what kind of trees they'll put on the curb, if they'll remove any trees at all. We know they have to remove one based on their design, and that one is a rather substantial tree. And they believe they can put a 3-inch caliper tree in its place, and we think that's not appropriate. However, because of the relationship over 3111, relationship in Van Cortlandt Village has gone from 0 to -10. I have made many attempts. The subcommittee has made many attempts to communicate with the developer. He just doesn't want to talk to us. The two neighbors, the one neighbor who has two houses next to the construction going on, he is getting no support at all from the city, certainly not from the developer. Concern about what damage, rock removal, hammering rock removal will have on his property. They don't seem to care about. There's no baseline. So if there's any damage, who can prove what? There was great concern about the corner property on Stevenson Place, in which there was a subforest of really established trees and growth over many, many years. And I now talk of that in the past tense because yesterday, they began soaring and knocking down everything that's there. So the community's hope to protect that environment is no longer at issue, and that's quite terrible. I had last week I contacted by letter Eric's office, really apologizing. I'm sure Eric's office has kept track of what we have been doing, but we have not contacted him directly. And I think that was an error on our part. So I wrote to him, asked him to intervene, bring us, at least have a meeting with the subcommittee. The only communication I have back is that he plans to talk to the developer. I don't think that's happened. I think it's almost irrelevant and sad that so much has taken place. And finally, on that issue, the rumor is, I think somewhat substantiated, that the Van Cortlandt Jewish Center is in the process of being sold. I don't know yet personally what's going to replace it, what's going to be saved. And so we're trying to find out more information. We have rumors, but I don't like spreading rumors. I'd like to know in fact what's going on. So that's land use.
Thank you. Any questions, comments?
Just point of order,
Okay,
housing should be next.
okay, thank you. Any questions, comments? Let this skip.
I don't know, Deb, I'm on a roll. If you want to stop me.
No. Go ahead, just do law, rules, and ethics while you're there.
No,
and then
let
we'll
Deb
do-
go. I'm okay with that.
Oh, no.
No, it's not me, housing got skipped.
Okay.
And
Go ahead, Marty, since you're on the roll.
Uh.
She does.
We have a meeting scheduled for the 21st. There's only one issue I want to raise here. Without using names, there is some concern, and I'm sure Deb wants to get into this. There is some concern about an item that was brought to our attention. How it got here, who it got here, I don't know, I don't care. The issue is that there is a movement more than just Board 8, because I brought to the attention of Deb and to Julie that in the East Bronx, the same issue is going on in terms of alienation of parks. And so the issue is extremely important that we keep on top of that. What's happening in East Bronx briefly is that Bally's wants to put up a casino and massive parking lot, and everybody seems to love that, except the fact that they want to take over a part of the park there. And it seems to me that both the state senator, I got this out of the Bronx Review, both the state senator and the state assembly member are both encouraging discussion. Even though the community board voted no, the issue still is alive because everybody else seems to want it. Bally's has promised various perks to the community, fixing up some roads, fixing up an overpass, and some other things undefined in the article. And they are willing to swap a piece of parkland. I don't quite understand that. But so the issue of alienation is a bigger one than I thought it was. However, the issue before us, and will be part of the main discussion at LRE, is the fact that someone, and this is beyond me, I don't know who it was, how it was, but someone contacted COIB and suggested that such item not be discussed. And COIB sent us a rather formal letter saying that under the city charter, I'll read it. The city conflicts of interest law prohibits any city resources being used for political purposes, which would include the discussion of candidates for city office. I frankly don't believe the discussion of candidates is the issue. The issue before us is alienation of parks. Now, Alex Kipp, who has come to us many times, advised us previously, we cannot discuss politicians. We can discuss issues, but we cannot point the finger and say X is good or X is bad. And so there is a sense among some, Chuck included, who sent a rather extensive letter to COIB complaining about this violation of rights not to allow us to speak on a subject. We've not received an answer. But I just want to point out there are two layers of problems here. COIB, unlike the Open Meetings Law and the Committee on Open Government, COIB has real teeth. They can fine, they can do other things under the law to make sure that people follow what they have said. The issue before us is that not only if we discuss this in a political sense, then we are in violation. And we're in higher violation if we have a letter saying don't do it and we do it. So while I'm waiting to hear a response to Chuck's letter, I am recommending and suggesting that alienation of parks is a major issue that we should be talking about. And I'm concerned that perhaps the state legislature is more open to that idea. And if that's the case, I mean, we fought alienation of parks with that cricket field that they wanted to take over for a short period of time. But we're now talking about major replacement of parkland. And again, if you're interested in this, I suggest you come to LRE and we will have greater depth and discussion. But I'm open to questions if there are any.
Anybody have a question?
Will non-committee members be allowed to speak at the LRE committee?
Usually they are. In your case, I don't know, but usually they are.
Yeah.
I fell into that trap once.
I think non-committee members can speak at any meeting except for the exec. And I said at the beginning of this meeting that I had invited guests like Steven and Sebastian and Deb and now Josh, but very briefly on specific issues that we're having tonight. But one committee doesn't allow people to speak.
It's happened on this board.
Oh, yeah, in the past, but what about now?
I haven't tested it recently. We haven't.
Yeah,
it
but there
hasn't
are
been-
moments when the committee has to deliberate and which conversation from non-committee members is excluded. But for the meeting in general, I've always allowed guests to speak.
Well, that's- Okay.
I would just like to say on this topic, Marty, the discussion of parkland, definitely, because, I even brought it to housing and land use, because it is a serious issue. And sometimes government thinks it seems logical or not. We can discuss the parkland, provided we don't mention where the source came from, if it's a political candidate. That's the whole gist of the incident. If it's a political candidate, we cannot definitely name the political candidate or say we got it from a political candidate, but we could discuss the subject matter.
Go ahead. Oh, I just wanted to, maybe fill in a little bit too for folks who haven't been following or didn't, watch the Parks Committee meeting this last week. That, there's a proposal to, the golf courses in particular seem to be, something that folks are focusing on for alienating parkland. And so with the Bally's example for putting a casino, they wanna take cause what used to be the Trump golf course, and they wanna make it a Bally's casino. And isn't that solving all sorts of problems? For people who like parkland, the answer is no. But they're now looking at, there are 12 municipal parks, 12 municipal golf courses in the city. They are operated as concessions, and that there's a proposal to take 4 of them and build housing on them, and that's one of the ways of solving our housing problem. And that there's like a list of all the golf courses and all the amount of housing you could put on these golf courses. And so Van Cortlandt Golf Course and Mosholu Golf Course are obviously a part of this discussion. And so in my opinion, Van Cortlandt Golf Course and Mosholu Golf Course are very vulnerable because their concessions will be up in the next couple of years, and so they won't be tied down the way some golf courses are. So we want to be especially diligent, because as Marty points out, the state is willing and interested in converting the golf course in the South Bronx to a casino. The state is the one that is ultimately the biggest barrier to the alienation of parkland.
But I have to cut you off for a minute.
Yeah.
Because that's not the issue. The issue is speaking about the subject, advising that it's a proposal from a candidate. That's the issue.
Well, I can go
not-
back to that issue too.
No,
So there's that issue.
No, we won't, because I want you to keep your money. No, but the issue that Marty's talking about, is not the alienation of parkland, is having a discussion saying that it's from a political candidate's proposal. That we cannot do.
No, but
That's clear as day.
But else, no, this, but what I'll say though, I just,
We get a response.
I don't want us to crosstalk, but I'll say that on that topic, so the issue of this park alienation is one that I wanted to bring to the committee, and so I put it on the agenda, and I stated where the proposal came from. And that was what drew the conflict of interest board email. Chuck and I both agree, and maybe Julie doesn't agree with that, but
It's not
that.
gonna be if I follow rules.
Chuck and I-
You know,
Chuck and I-
support. That's
so-
what it is.
No,
And
no,
when
no.
we're gonna have a full discussion on this at Laurels and
I
Ethics.
think,
But the issue is,
I think it's ironic that you're saying you follow rules, but
do.
you're interrupting me while
but
I'm
you
trying to
didn't ask
explain.
for the floor.
Okay, I thought
You
I had
know?
the floor because of the
No,
thing.
I have to give the floor, and I've been letting the meeting go flow, because I like that.
Okay, well, you.
But if you wanna
You wanna
get
tell me?
technical, I can.
No,
But
you don't
it
wanna
will
talk
be
about it, you don't wanna
discussed
talk about it.
at Marty's meeting. But the issue is not the alienation part, the issue is discussing, if you have information from a candidate, a political candidate, do not bring it to your committee and discuss it. And we will send out the email from COIB, and you could decipher it from there. Sergio, and then Ed, and then Rhonda.
On the issue of the discussion, which I think is certainly an important one. So it was somebody running against an elected official who brought this, who brought the news. Is that the problem?
It was a political candidate who's running for office in New York
Thinking of
City,
doing-
has a proposal,
Printed a
and
report.
Laura, an elected official has a proposal, and their proposal, the committee wanted to speak on the proposal, mentioning that it came from the political candidate, which COIB told us not to do. And until that's settled, we have to follow the rules. You know, it's not that I agree with it or anything, but we have to follow rules.
So I guess the question is, on the larger issue, not the alienation, which is a very big issue.
And that
Is-
they could put on the
is-
agenda.
Right, I'm saying is like, how's that different from, well, I think
From
we're
the casino?
we're voting on tonight, or we're being presented tonight, a legislation, and it mentions that one of our assembly members is putting it forth.
Is he a candidate? Is he running for
Well,
office?
he runs for office every 2 years.
Yeah, but I'm saying, is he running for office now? That's the issue. A political candidate running for office.
Yeah, that's the difference.
Because then it would appear that the board is taking sides. If we come out with a negative resolution, a positive resolution, then we're being political and we're taking sides, which is what we may not do.
So do we have to see how close he is to an election?
It doesn't matter. He's a political
No,
candidate.
I'm saying like, we have tonight,
Yeah,
legislation that we're being asked to support,
Mm-hmm.
proposed by our local assembly member.
but they're in office.
Yeah, but so
Two-
are the people who are running for
Right.
mayor.
Right.
I'm saying, but two months before the election, can we do this? I mean, where does it stop?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think
Good
this
question.
is the year that he-
No, I understand that, but where does it stop if they're always running? Yes,
Yeah,
okay.
but the other one is a candidate
I'm-
now.
Email that to Marty.
Somebody else should, because I emailed something 2 months ago, I haven't gotten anything back yet.
Marty, did you hear the question?
What'd you
Sergio,
send me that I didn't respond to?
My email's,
Okay, we have three hands up. We got Ed,
Stephen,
Rhonda, and Steven.
And that was a great question. I could go in another half an hour on that, but,
10 to 9.
so my initial thought was, if speaking about a politician who's bringing this legislation up is, what's to prevent a and then where do we go from there?
So they're bringing it up.
But so that means we can't discuss it and comment on,
You can comment, but we can't put it on our agenda. We cannot bring it to the public. We're taking a side if we do that. If someone's in your committee and says, hey, so-and-so is doing this, then let's say in the Parks Department, in the committee, that's, oh, that's a good issue to look into. Let's look into the park alienation and just stay with the real stuff.
I get it. To me, it limits our discussion with whatever's brought up from the public, but that aside, this whole issue that Sergio brought up, to me, is a big deal because, let's say for argument's sake, somebody, one of our local elected officials was running or somebody was running and they proposed legislation, but the committee, it's something that the committee and the community supports. We're basically prohibited from supporting something that the community strongly supports because there's an electoral process going on with one of the candidates. It's not really related to, well.
Well,
you
that
can
person,
comment on
that person, and Marty can double check with them, but that person is already in office. They're acting in their position. They're not running for that position. They have that position.
Right.
They run against the challenger.
It doesn't matter, but they have
They
that
have
position.
that
That's their
position.
job. Like they're already a
I'm
council.
confused. Maybe Marty can straighten it out.
If they're already elected, and let's say one of the assembly persons that's in office comes to you with an issue, they're in office. and
We
they're
have
coming to you with-
every right to support or lobby against legislation. We're not supporting or rejecting the sponsor of the legislation. That's not the issue. We can always support and speak about legislation we like or dislike. And that's, we've always done that. The issue here is whether or not we are getting involved in partisan politics by raising some candidate's position, which may or may not meet our likes or dislikes. Do I fully understand it? Not yet. I'm waiting for a response to Chuck's extensive challenge of COIB, but at the moment we are under orders from COIB not to do certain things, and we risk fines and whatever else they might come up with. They're not going to lock us up, but whatever they might come up with by violating their direct order.
And I reminded them that at the October meeting, in real time, Marty stopped an elected official from doing exactly that, talking about another candidate. Because we just can't, and in putting it on the agenda, even though you want to talk about the alienation, having that candidate on there, that was the only issue. I know, okay. Rhonda?
I'll email my question to Marty.
Okay, thank you.
And
Stephen?
I'm not a member of exec, so I'm not sure I'm supposed to be speaking. It's so distressing to hear what I just heard. And I have not read Chuck's letter and I have not read the COIB letter, but I feel that I can say pretty clearly and without doubt that the fact that any politician inside or outside of an electoral contest, while in office or as a challenger, cannot insulate any subject matter whatsoever from discussion at a community board. You may not be able to endorse a candidate and you may not be able to criticize a candidate. I do understand that. We've gone over that before. Marty has mentioned it many times, but there is no such issue in the world that can't be discussed, irrespective of whether it comes out of the mouth of an elected official or someone challenging an official inside a campaign or outside of a campaign. Any suggestion to the contrary is balderdash, is silly. And I just want to make sure that people at least have heard me say that so that they don't leave this meeting thinking that there is anything to this at all. So I just want to go on record as saying that, just again, because I don't want people walking away thinking that there is any possibility in the world that any subject can be off limits from a community board other than endorsing a political candidate. That's all.
Thank you, Stephen, but it's not the subject, it's the person who was bringing it and the proposal, and everyone will get a copy of the email that we received, so everybody can be on the same page and know what we're discussing. Let just Dan will go first, and then you. And then after that, let's
Yeah,
wrap it
two
up.
really quick. So to be safe, should we, for things like the public safety resolution that specifically calls out who sponsored the bills, should it just say the bill and leave that alone? You can go look up, you can see who sponsored it. We're supporting the bill. We're not we are not allowed to directly support these people, whether or not they're running. They might be running, they might not be.
Do they
Is it
have the
unimportant?
positions?
We're not
Like that.
endorsing
Do
them.
they have the?
Well, but
positions?
not all, well, you also mentioned Hochul in there. She's actually currently running for
Right,
the
but she has
position,
a position.
but she's also running.
But she has the position.
So how's it okay to mention her?
I think the key
When
is,
you go
Daniel,
to the LRE meeting, then maybe you'll get it a little bit.
And then
more.
equally for the minutes or the agenda didn't say that it was endorsing or against the proposal. It simply said discussion of this proposal and then said who proposed it.
Right,
And that seems non-judgmental.
ask
So
us about
shouldn't it be
resolution.
allowed?
but it has the candidate's
Can't use the
name.
name.
It has a candidate, you're talking about a candidate and their proposal. So you're discussing a candidate's proposal. So that if you do that, that candidate doesn't have the job. I think this is like so simple.
But it isn't supporting or against it. Maybe it's in
The
support, maybe
discussion
it's
could
against.
go. The board
But But the
not.
board isn't supporting, they're just saying, let's talk about it.
But that's what you cannot do. When you get the email, maybe you could decipher it and understand it a little better. It's telling you, you may not. It's coming right from them. It's not like I didn't just get this out of my head. They're telling us, do not speak on a candidate's proposal. You can speak on the subject, but do not speak on the candidate's proposal.
So just to,
And then that's it, because then you
Just a-
guys go to LRE and let
So-
Marty deal with you.
that, I mean, I agree that I think we should be able to discuss, I think it's overbroad. But just to say the sentence basically of what they specifically said. The city's conflict of interest law prohibits any city resources being used for political purposes, which would include the discussion of candidates for city office. And that's what you're talking about, the discussion of candidates for city office, which was not what we were doing. But then they went on to say, we advise that this item must be removed from the agenda because it involves a political campaign, which is when it gets very broad and
Right.
forced us to remove it from the agenda, which then made us very confused as to whether we could discuss it or how we could discuss it at all.
You could have just discussed alienation of parks, and
Yeah.
it would have been done. That would have been the most simplest thing to do.
We
You
did,
would've
and
just-
we did.
Okay, so then,
However,
yeah,
it's, as a American, I think it's chilling to have to exclude facts.
and as an American, we have a process. I know the current government isn't following it, but we do. So we sent something to COIB.
Yeah, and
And we're waiting for
waiting for
response.
the, exactly, have I followed all the
No.
rules? I have, right? So I'm not saying anything on Tuesday, I'm just saying that we're in the middle of a process with COIB. I know, that's what I'm saying, and so we're waiting to find out what happened.
Exactly.
Could we share the letter
I am.
and
Everybody's gonna
and the
get it.
response, please?
Yeah,
Yes,
And the response, please. Thank
we
you.
haven't received a response yet.
No, our response.
No, Chuck's response.
Chuck's
Our
email.
response.
Yeah, it's good.
I think there was another response too.
I sent one, but they only listen to men, so.
Okay.
Oh, I don't think they listen to men. I don't listen to anybody.
Okay, so now we can move on.
Housing.
Thank you, Marty.
Yeah, thank you, Marty.
I think that actually is.
Okay, housing, Rashida.
took your pen.
I'll start with our next meeting, which is Monday, April 28th. I think you said health and hospitals, and I think that's what I said.
Yeah, the health and hospital is actually on the
The
9th.
9th. So, housing is April 28th, that Monday. And we're hoping to, bring in any of these not-for-profit organizations that can speak to low, affordable in terms of income. And maybe even someone who can speak to, people in need of housing who are unhoused. But we'll see, like, if we can get all of that, that would be ideal. In our last meeting, which was on Monday, March 24th, we had a discussion about, the ways in which housing has been and will intentionally address, racial equality. So we had Sebastian speak a little bit. He talked about what the housing committee did from September 2023 to June 2024. And how I guess I was unintentionally picking up that, like carrying the torch. But, we want to be more deliberate when we address these issues. So that's something that we discussed. I don't want to mention anything else that we discussed, but, one thing that did come up was maybe if possible, and this would, possibly be in conjunction with whoever's part of TNT. But we were thinking about how can we, if possible, create, flyers or like advertisements for people who are in need of housing. So like a step, one of those maps, because, one thing that came up was that this office is far for people who might need the housing. And they might not necessarily know to come here to pick up a flyer. So is there a way that we can be more central or maybe have, flyers about what you would do in terms of the intake process if you're in need of a home, like it could be in train stations, and maybe we can have billboards. I said that well, not billboards, but you know how the train has all of these things. I know I read things on the train and I'm just like, wow, that's interesting. Art Deco, whatever. It's just like random stuff that I see. So we thought maybe we could, do something and have stuff on the train, maybe, things like that. Yes.
Rashida, we participated, the board, we partnered with, Councilman Dinowitz.
Mhm.
And there were, it was trucks that went to Kingsbridge, stayed for a few hours, moved to another place. HPD, all the housing, information, flyers, everything we distributed. We advertised it that we were gonna be there. We gave out a lot of flyers and stuff, because you're absolutely right. And people were picking up the stuff coming. There was also, you can bring your question, your problem. There were people there who would answer it. I think that was about 2 years ago. We did it a few times, and maybe we check in with the councilman and see if he's going to be doing that again.
Thank you. Oh, yeah, good. Oh, am I the one?
Must be you. Go
Okay.
ahead.
I was gonna say even the high schools, giving it to guidance counselors, because a lot of the high school students are homeless and their families are homeless, because that could be a place also.
Maybe teaming up also with
Education.
education, culture, like. Thank you.
Thank you, Rashida.
Thank you.
Okay. Public safety, Craig Green?
Public safety has 4 resolutions. We had.
Wait, I'm sorry. Wait, I can't.
Oh, sorry.
Later.
Parks and Recreation.
Don't say alienation.
Don't say candidate.
We had Wave Hill came and they did a really great presentation on wild flower meadow, native meadow that they're doing. So if you're interested, totally check out the recording and the minutes. We have 2 SAPOs, both of them from the James Baldwin Outdoor Learning Center. One is for their Car-Free Earth Day, which is on March 26th. Which is on April 26th. It's basically going to be kind of a pop-up version of their farmers market. And it's in the same place that they normally have the farmers market, which is right at Goulden, Sedgwick, and Paul, directly beside DeWitt Clinton High School. And then the second SAPO is for their actual farmers market, which will start on June 13th and will run until October 25th. It will only be on Saturdays from 10 o'clock until 3. And they've been doing it since 2020. So it's been a successful event. And both of those resolutions were approved unanimously. So that's the SAPOs. Next Parks meeting is on April 23rd. We finished our budget priorities and got them handed in. I didn't get a response from anybody, but I assume you guys have got them. So let me know if you didn't. Yeah, that's it.
Is this order on the other community board? Right, do they put in a SAPO as well, or any comments?
It seems as though they come to us for their SAPO improvements. And they went to CB7 for their sign off on the pedestrian plaza that they did. So it seems like they
Okay.
do a little bit of both.
Okay. Right,
Any questions?
that's it?
That's it.
Well, there was another conversation which we are forbidden to, down. And it was a very interesting conversation, I
The
might
rest of
say.
it, see law, rules, and ethics. Yeah.
Like the elephant in the room, you can't say.
I just we gave the gist of it in law, rules, and ethics.
Okay, good enough. Thank
It's
you.
9 o'clock. It's
Thank
9
you,
o'clock.
Jerry. Thank you. Traffic and transportation.
Safety.
We're all gonna feel alienated by the time this is over.
So, Public Safety Committee has 4 resolutions. We have 3 SOAs, all renewals. One is for Tortoise and Hare at 6115 Broadway. Neem Indian Cuisine, 3549 Johnson, and Morse Cafe LLC at 3260 Johnson. 50th Precinct had no issues with any of these establishments. Committee approved them all unanimously. And the 4th resolution is a resolution in support of both an assembly and a state bill. So our resolution basically supports the bill and urges our elected officials to, adopt them into law. I'm sure you've all read this, I'll just give you a brief, meat and potatoes of this, in my opinion, that, both bills establish separate crimes. One is for mass harassment, the other is for aggravated harassment. The mass harassment is a violation and the aggravated harassment is a class A misdemeanor. The mass harassment, it's stated in the second whereas clause. It's basically, when somebody threatens somebody, violence against somebody else or places another person or group of people in reasonable fear for their physical safety. And the second one of aggravated harassment basically involves touching, hitting, striking, removing somebody's religious clothing or putting your hands on people. And the aggravated harassment is a class A misdemeanor, which is punishable by up to a year in jail. So, those are, and, all these resolutions were passed unanimously by our committee.
Julie?
Oh, I'm sorry, Bob.
I think Laura had her hand up
Laura?
first.
Yeah, I just wanna add that, hate crimes have gone up, as the resolution notes, in the state 69%. And that this attempts to, reinstate a masking bill that already had existed, that, was ended because of COVID. And that this seeks to reinstate that, but it exempts individuals who, are wearing a mask, but not doing one of these activities, while wearing a mask. They're wearing a mask for health reasons or medical concerns or the weather or religious purposes. And so this attempts to, protect the rights of the individuals to wear masks and to demonstrate, but it takes the stance that, that doesn't give rights to violence. I know you've noted, if you read it, that, the Community Board 8 report, Resources to Cope with and Combat Hate, was part of this resolution, that it would, the issues that it raises because of the hate crimes based on race, religion, ethnicity, sexual orientation, gender identity, how the increase has been going on. So I just wanted to add that, and that it's a time who's come. And we work very hard on this, and I'd love to hear people's comments and questions.
Thank you, Laura. Bob?
Yeah, Ed, I want to be sure I understand this. I mean, first of all, threatening violence against somebody is already a crime, and of course, attacking somebody, assaulting somebody is already a crime. So what this bill would do is it would be similar to, let's say you assault somebody and you make a racist comment or a homophobic comment or an anti-Semitic comment. It would be aggravated because of the fact that the person is wearing a mask.
Very similar, yes.
Okay, and so the fact, what concerns me here is some of the language is somewhat confusing. For example, it says in the second and third whereas clauses, for the primary purpose of. I don't know why you need to try to figure out what the purpose is. If somebody is threatening someone or somebody's assaulting someone, it seems to me purpose is an irrelevant phrase, an irrelevant word at that point. Somebody has committed a crime. What concerns me is that you have this question about, well, let's leave that aside.
Can I answer that?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
So,
please.
The word is purpose, primary purpose, that's the word. So this, as you can see, these are in quotation marks. So this was taken from the bill. This is
Right.
not our word.
No, I
So
understand
I'm not gonna, obviously, I'm not going to, amend what language they
Right.
previously put out. So that's all.
No, okay. And when you go a little bit farther down, it says, the bill exempts people who are wearing a mask for medical purposes, religious purposes, on Halloween, part of a costume, that sort of thing. It just seems to me a completely irrelevant clause, because you have to commit a crime for any of this to matter. See, what I'm getting at, what I'm concerned about is, as you know, there was a previous version of this bill, which did not get through the legislature because the focus was on the mask, not on the actions, not on assaulting somebody or threatening somebody. And that legislation went nowhere. And there are hints of it in here. Like, you know, why would the question of religion or medicine even matter if somebody's being threatened or somebody's being assaulted? You know, it shouldn't even come up, that you're wearing a mask. If you're not assaulting somebody or committing a crime, yeah, of course.
I believe it comes up as a reassurance that people have, because some people may have concerns about these particular things, and it may be questions that concern people that they're gonna bring up, and it's just reassuring them that under these circumstances, the law is not gonna be enforced against people, doing these activities.
Okay, and if it's for purposes of clarification, that's fine. I mean, later on, it says, well, law enforcement agencies have stated that masking emboldens illegal activities. Once again, it seems to me we're creeping back into the argument that it's wearing a mask that is a problem. And I just want to be absolutely clear. I will vote for this if the mask is an accessory to or an aggravation to a crime that's already being committed. The mask itself is not a concern.
Okay, I'm just gonna respond real quick to that, stating that, we feel really strong about this, but I will concede you that, on that third, or what is it, the second to last whereas clause, I do, now that you've said that and I'm reading it, I do believe that, it does need a source attached to it, and I'll either provide a source or I'll omit the whereas clause. How's that?
Okay, yeah, no, that's
Okay.
reasonable. As I said, my concern here is just to make sure that we're getting a completely revised bill and not, something that's a little closer to the one that failed because it was focused on the mask rather than on the actions of the person wearing the mask.
Actually, may I say something? Also to respond to that?
Let's take it one first since he hasn't spoken yet.
Yeah.
On the third whereas clause. Whereas both bills establish a crime of aggravated harassment. I think they expand, I think this is an expansion of the current aggravated harassment. This is because aggravated harassment, I believe, already exists. It does exist, I know it exists. And I think it is a class A misdemeanor. So I believe that where the bill seeks to expand or expands the crime of aggravated harassment. Mass harassment I've never heard of. But I believe aggravated harassment is already in the penal law. It doesn't establish it, it expands it to.
So what is it expanding from to?
It expands it to, if you do these things while using a mask, that's not in the current aggravated harassment.
Gotcha.
I think this is called mass harassment. It is.
No, there's one that's called mass harassment.
Right.
And then it also appears, if I'm reading it right, to expand the crime of aggravated harassment, which is already in the penal law.
Right.
Anyway, maybe just take a look and make sure that you meant expand and not establish. Either way. That's all.
Okay.
Julie?
Yes.
Mayor? Mayor? One of the criticisms of the, Ed and I have been following this since September. And it came out again new, and we quote from January, came out with a new number because of the vagueness from the former. And I think one of the criticisms Assemblyman Dennis was saying was that people were needed to have it spelled out that they can still wear a mask and they're not gonna have any problem unless they're doing, one of these things.
Right.
So on purpose,
Right.
they tighten this up, they put that in. And I just want to say one thing I forgot to mention, which I think is really very critical to these bills. Whereas both bills are supported by the Coalition Unmasked Hate New York, the NAACP, New York Conference, National Urban League, United Bodegas of America, the Anti-Defamation League, Youth Relations Council of New York, UJA Federation of New York, Attorney General Letitia James, and Mayor Eric Adams, like the governor. So, I just think it has, it's just very important with that rise of hate that's going on in the state to, send a message. Again, try to change the culture and let people know.
Well, in fairness, if you go online, you'll find a whole list of organizations that are opposed to the bill as well. Just to be clear, so, this is not a slam dunk, there are arguments both ways, but as I said, as long as, my understanding comports with Ed's understanding that, the mask is irrelevant until an action is committed, until a crime is committed, then I'm comfortable with
I
it.
think that's the big difference between
Right.
earlier and the
Exactly,
second.
exactly,
That's
right, that's why the early bill
difference.
failed, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else?
No.
Anything?
Oh, I do have one, sorry. Just only because Rashida brought this up many, many months ago. I did add in our minutes, we received a list of all the Argus cameras locations in.
Would you like to go out?
And,
Is that something you'd like?
So there are 69 locations and that's not including the ones we requested for last year's budget request. I don't know when that goes in, but I guess it goes in 2026, because we requested it for 2026. So that list is up. We know where they are now and we have a running total on them.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, you said 16, Madam Chair, I'm sorry. You said 69
Locations.
That's in addition to the speed cameras and the red light cameras?
Yes, that's totally separate. Argus cameras are just surveillance cameras.
Maybe I'm a libertarian, but Big
Big Brother's watching,
is
you know,
watching way,
right,
is
yeah.
watching way too much, and I do have a problem with people who are usually traditional, people who are not inclined, is so inclined or so easy to accept so much surveillance, the state surveillance. Thank you.
Are any of them in parks or are they all on streets?
You have to look at the list because it's an extensive list. I know some of them, I don't wanna say because I'd be talking out of turn. I'd have to go over the list. It's long.
My understanding is that CB7 has requested, cameras for Washington Parkway and for Williamsbridge Oval. That's why I asked. 'Cause I wasn't sure if we had I don't think we have them in any of our parks, but I don't know.
I did, one of the locations, I did question. And, Farah and Artie did some research for me and the answer was, cause it didn't seem like it was in our area. But the, different, precincts patrol areas and they share that, so that's why we were able to request something that we didn't think of was in our area. Is that correct? I think.
Sounds
It sounds right. I didn't just make that up. Yeah. But yeah, I'll check the list, It's in our minutes.
It's in,
It's in our minutes, yeah.
Anything else? Okay, great, thank you. Traffic and transportation.
Who,
I'll take about daylight and that's pizza.
Mhm.
And then to get the, parking and 20 feet of the street. You see first.
So we have 1, 2.
There's four resolutions.
You want to do them?
He's still a shit. Well, we had a meeting on March 20th and there was 4 resolutions. Resolution number 1 was to support additional safety measure for West to 35th Street and Oxford Avenue. And that was fully voted unanimously, no issues there. The next one was taxi and limousine commission letter of no objection for Kingsbridge Dispatch. That was voted on unanimously. And another resolution was on the DOT permeable surfaces.
Rainwater.
we know a lot about that. There was no issues there, voted unanimously. And North Riverdale Block Party for May 18th,
The SACO application.
SACO application. And that was also voted unanimously, there was nothing else to. No issues there either. Any comments? Sounds good?
Anybody have any questions, comments?
Thank you, Debbie.
Well, I do want to just add to it since, you know, we have to make an agenda. But DOT is coming to present and update everyone at the next meeting on the 17th about the Bailey Avenue safety plan that they're already under construction. So there'll be updates at the next meeting.
It's April 17th.
Yeah, April
April
17th,
17th.
Thursday.
Is it like Bailey and Central?
It's Bailey and, you know, Van
Van
Cortlandt
Cortlandt South.
South, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. The part where you're intentionally hiding. your
So
voice.
far.
That's the
Have they
trigger.
provided any notice about the?
In order to
River
prevent
Freeway?
the-
See you.
No.
Should we put that in?
Plan? They got some sort of.
That's the
Maybe that
trigger.
could be.
Okay, so
When you're
with traffic
concealing
and
to hide
transportation,
your face.
any comments
but it's-
pertaining to that?
it's in it.
Laura, Joy, any comments?
No.
Okay, so then, got it, thank
It's in
you.
there.
So we'll go on
This
to
is
the
the
next
trigger.
committee. You? Rhonda?
So our next meeting is April 29th. We have to move it because we may not have had quorum if it was the original date. So I gotta move, thanks to Farah for allowing that to happen. At our last meeting, we did not have quorum, but we still was able to send in our nominations for the Yankee Leadership Award, which was great. We had 5 nominees. Unfortunately, we had to say no to one person.
We had 6 now.
We had 6 nominees and 5, so one person didn't get it. At our next meeting, we are gonna start looking at the Comeback Kid Award and also finalize and submit our budget priorities.
Maybe that kid who didn't get the other award, now you gotta come back from that. Now he's depressed.
Motion to add a stipend to that one kid. Right. Right, that's all.
Thank you, Rhonda.
Sure.
No questions? Okay, so special committee on Hudson River Greenway,
Nothing to report.
thanks, Rhonda. And street, is anyone reporting for street?
I texted
Oh.
Yeah,
And you have a calendar.
okay, hot.
Oh, you have a calendar, so it's fancy.
Oh, Marty, oh, mine, okay. Special committee on Veterans Affairs,
We are having our meeting this month. It is
24th.
the 24th at 7:30, right here. Right in this very warm room. We will be discussing events coming up, and we plan to have some community members come participate in our events. To see if that show up, because, you know, at the last minute during the event, you know, people are making changes. So we'd like to plan it better. Thank you.
thank you, Sergio. Economic development,
Salute.
Constance couldn't, she was on a train, there was a lot of interference, so.
okay, anybody else from? Economic, okay, so. Economic Development will be presenting a recommendation for their awards next Tuesday. They have 4 applicants. When you look to that, the ABC with the names of the applicants.
I did, but I didn't do it for tonight, I thought you said for the full board. I did it for CSA, not for those.
Okay, so then you'll hear it at the meeting on Tuesday. They have, 4 applicants. Two of them are pretty solid. And two of them they're working on. What will happen is that the board members will receive a piece of paper and it will say A, B, C, and maybe D. And next to the letters, it will have the name of the business. And then Constance or one of the members will give the information on the business and why they should be awarded the most valuable merchants award. The thing is that we're trying not to name the business. And so that therefore by doing A, B, C, and every member will have the name of the business with them. And hopefully nobody will say who they are until after the resolution is done, and then we can give a name to A, B, C, but the members will know what the business name is. And it has to be a recommendation because they did not have a quorum last night, but they did discuss everything, and they're still working on a few of the nominees. Any questions? And hopefully it will work better than before. And Sebastian brought up a good point, and it was on the list. I looked on the list that I had given the past chairs a few years back, trying to get the committees who are giving, recommending awards to get a set of criteria on, and on that list was, have you notified the nominee that they're being put up for an award? Because since discussion is now on Zoom, if we're discussing someone, would the person want their name or business out there, especially if it comes out in the negative? And I think it was last year, I'm trying to find the list. Last year I had sent all the chairs a list and asked them if they could just fill in the blanks so we could do a resolution and get some criteria. And on that list, it did say, to advise the nominee of submission. So that's something that we really have to work on, and Sebastian brought it to light again today, and it was on the list that I've been asking the committees. About a year already. To set up criteria, and let's form something so that all the committees can have a general guideline to follow. And something like that, if we're discussing a nominee next week and let's say a name is put out there and the board says, let's not give this person an award, that's pretty embarrassing for the person and for us too, So hopefully it will work next week. We don't name any names for now. Okay, so that's economic development, and they will be doing their walkthrough. They're thinking of doing it in the King Street section, and they're also going to look to do the walkthrough with the council members. Any questions, comments? Is that Steve's hand up, or is that just the?
No, that's just
Okay, so that's them, and then we have the Community Service Award. Stephen?
Right, I think.
Sebastian, you're gonna do it, okay, so you guys did it nicely.
So the,
Wait, before you start, everybody should have like, this is similar to what economics gonna have. Okay,
so
And then there's a resolution.
Julie, if I may, I just wanted to clarify. I think most of the people who are nominated, I think they've been told they're getting nominated. But I'm not sure if they are informed that the information might get discussed in a public forum and might end up, which is recorded and might end up on YouTube. So I'm not sure if people have that information
so we could do it
before they accept the nomination.
But we're not naming anyone this evening too, because
Yeah.
we're on Zoom.
So there is a packet with 6 names, which we have been marked with letters. So the committee met, we met in person 3 times.
We approved the press release and the nomination form and set a deadline for March 21st. And we did receive 8 nominations before March 21st, and we requested for unredacted nominations, just because we wanted to do due diligence on all the nominations to make sure that they deserve it and we can make sure the work is done. We were able to get the names and we were able to do good due diligence on all applications. The committee decided to nominate 6 of the nominations, to forward them for the award. And those are the summary of their nominations are provided to the board. However, we decided that this should not be voted in the board meeting, but again, we just wanted to bring it up because again, for the reasons of privacy and people's nomination and information getting discussed, especially if it is of a negative discussion in a full board meeting. Our suggestion was that if this is done during the executive committee meeting. There was also another suggestion that if these awards were provided, were actually given out during April, which is a volunteer month, and the committee had no objection with that as well. So you have 6 nominations here for your discussion. And you have also a resolution.
So you want us to help you decide and fill in one of these names now?
No, we already decided on 6, awarding 6.
These are the 6 they recommend.
Oh, you're giving
So
it to
we
all of them.
unanimously, yes, 6 to 6. We had 8 applicants, we're giving the 6.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
I just want to say that when I was chair, there was a committee and we had a lot of very strong applicants and we gave 6. No,
Yeah.
it's a lot, but it's sometimes, I mean, that's what the committee decided, and Judy, you were on that committee.
Yeah. it's been
And
a
I
long
was,
night.
yeah.
We still have
So
the awards.
there's, well, there was no speeches, but I mean, so there's precedent for this. That's all.
Yeah, that was gonna be my question. Are there 6 awards?
Yes.
Okay.
But you have to buy from our budget.
I was just gonna say, is that in the budget?
When we started looking at this, even at our second meeting, when we first got any names at all, we did, Farrah was good enough to get us, a history of awards going back a fair number of years. And there were years of 1 award and there were years of 6. And so we felt that, if people appeared deserving, since we weren't allocating funds, we would,
Yeah.
but the committee took
what-
it very seriously.
Yeah, you guys did a lot of work and you put a lot of things into play for policy that we definitely will use. Good work, the whole committee.
Yes,
did.
thank you. Good job, guys.
You know? And the awards will be given out at the June meeting. And we have secured, both Farrah so much, for June 25th.
Julie,
So
I
that-
thought you said the awards would be given out in May, because we're going to exec in April, which means
We're
they could
going-
get,
No, I like to do it 2 months, I like to plan, so it's 2 months ahead, just in case anyone denied it in April. Then we had at least May, because I didn't want to do it in June, because we're giving out the awards in June. So we're presenting to the board in April, and if they say yes, then we're set. If they
Right.
say no, then you come back to them in May.
okay,
But we cannot do it in June because we're giving out the awards. So that's why I mentioned the Economic Development Committee didn't have the luxury you guys have. Like, Economic is going to the board in April to do the awards in May. So if it's voted down, that's it. But you guys have the luxury.
Julie, did you say June 25th is the date of the June meeting?
Yeah,
Okay, it's good to know.
yeah.
Okay. So
June
why June
25th.
25th? Because of, the,
Philharmonic.
Philharmonic.
Right, and the Philharmonic usually is on a Tuesday, but it's on a
Yeah.
Thursday this year.
Do we know where?
So yes, Steve,
President thing.
so if, hopefully the awards, everyone will say yes to your selection, but if not, at least you have one more month. And then you're done. Thank you. Sebastian, anything else?
No.
Okay. Any questions, comments? Okay, so thank you. Okay, unfinished business? Sergio, I meant to, in my report, I forgot to thank you. Sergio attended the borough president's, borough board meeting on our behalf at the beginning of this month, so thank you for that.
Oh, of course, thank you.
And then, if you want to mention anything on that,
No, I sent the link to the board office if
Okay.
anybody's interested on, what Marty was talking about, that we do everything by majority vote.
Yeah.
I sent the charter link there,
okay.
in case you can't sleep at night. You said you're reading your the charter. You,
Just some light reading.
yeah.
Really quick, guys, I just wanted to clarify something I said before about the Argus cameras. We do not have multiple, precincts patrolling our area. So there are borders and one precinct is in charge of the west side and the east side of the street, and then west side and the south side on our area. So I just wanted to clarify that so people didn't think we have multiple, police precincts in our area, patrolling our area.
Okay, thanks. And then, just a reminder, when we do the agenda, and when I call the committees, and I'm sorry if I skip people, but but I do at times move the committees around. If someone has something personal, I'm not gonna explain, but I do move people around. That wasn't the case tonight, and I just didn't see. But I do move committees around. It's not always in the certain order, especially if there's resolutions and make sure we don't have a long night. I don't put them up on top as much because everyone should sit there, but for certain circumstances, I will move them around at times. But tonight, I'm sorry, I just didn't see. Anybody else? Any new business? Okay, the next meeting is May 7th. Thank you very much. Oh, someone has to adjourn.
Motion
Move
to
to
make-
adjourn.
Second.
Thank you, everybody.
I'll do it.
So, there is that one you think.